Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Chevy Drives Chicago, the official truck partner of your Chicago Bears.
Well, twice in 3 weeks, the latest Bears-Packers matchup by week, all time, in which the winner takes the division lead. That's how tight the NFC North is. That's how impactful these Bears-Packers games these last couple of weeks have been. And still, as several coaches told me today, Tommy, so much more to go in this season. 3 games is like an eternity to determine how it's all going to shake out. But we're going to preview the matchup with the Packers here in episode 196 of the Bears Etc. podcast. This episode of Bears Etc. brought to you by ChevyDriveChicago.com, the official truck of your Chicago Bears. I know you were antsy for the one in the Green Bay. How antsy are you this one? Are you as relaxed as Caleb Williams was at the podium on Wednesday at Hallis Hall? Because he sure looked relaxed.
I've learned to live 1 week, one game a week. You know, I'm not looking ahead. I'm not looking behind. I'm looking in a couple days when they play the Green Bay Packers, and there's a lot of meaning to this football game. But, you know, as the Bears continue to improve and they continue to show the league-wide that they are a playoff contending football team, they proved it week in and week out, and there's another opportunity Saturday night to do the same.
Got Stacey Dales from NFL Network. She's covering both teams throughout the course of the season. She has good perspective. Always enjoy Stacey, part of our Bears preseason television crew with Jim Miller and Adam Amin as well. Tom, let's look at the injury report. The Micah Parsons story is a big one. Josh Jacobs working with a knee and ankle, kind of got it aggravated against Denver. Zach Tom, the right tackle, dealing with back and knee issues. Some of the same injuries that I had on my board last week are still flaring up for the Packers. So either they're resting these guys here late in the season. They know they can hit the ground running when they get back in the game. But another key one is Evan Williams, outstanding safety, has not practiced this week yet with a knee. This is as of Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, you know, a lot of that could be preventive medicine, just like you said. We'll see what happens Saturday night when we get the inactive list, what is that, 90 minutes before the game. And that's when the truth is going to be told. You know, from this far out, some of that could be a smoke screen where they want you to think that someone's not going to be there, but they are. And, you know, like I said, we'll see when Saturday night gets here.
And, on the Bears injury report, pretty strong, but Rome Odunze, Luther Burden III, as of right now, have not practiced. That's something to keep an eye on over the course of the week. But, you know, this coaching staff has everybody prepared, Tom. They have been rolling guys through, and no better example, none, than DeMarco Jackson. DeMarco Jackson has a game of his life with his first career interception, his first career sack last week, 7 tackles. He was the highest-graded linebacker, one of, in the NFL. According to Pro Football Focus last week, he had the 2 pass breaks up as well, but he got a great opportunity, and he has taken advantage of that opportunity. I think people forget to start the season, he was an impact player on special teams. He had at least a half a dozen, 7 or 8 tackles on special teams. That got him to be somebody, okay, we got to have this guy active no matter what. And certainly his awareness of the system, parts of it with Dennis Allen in New Orleans where he did play. He is a likable guy. He is respected in that locker room already. He's always walking around with a smile on his face. His attitude is fantastic, and he is the NFC Defensive Player of the Week.
One thing I like about DeMarco Jackson is you get respect when you earn respect, because there's a lot of guys in NFL locker rooms that, yeah, they're waiting in the wings for their opportunity. And then when their opportunity is presented, do they show the rest of the locker room that they're mentally and physically prepared to give what's needed of them? And I think from the very first time that DeMarco Jackson has had an opportunity to step on the field, he's ready, willing, and able. And I think that's the most important message you can send to the players in the locker room, and it's a reflection of the coaching staff of getting you prepared.
Yeah, you think about it now. Amanak Bamgamiga had that big tackle game when he moved into the linebacker position, battling injury earlier in the season and all through training camp. You had Nashawn Wright story. That's been well documented. TJ Edwards back, and now Tremaine Edmonds could be coming back. He is limited so far this week, but that window to return off IR is here. working through a groin injury. What's your anticipation? Could it be possible that he gets on the field this week?
Listen, I just want him to be healthy. Do not come back here and be 80% in cold weather and then have the threat of maybe re-aggravating something like that. I want to see Tremaine Edmonds for the big picture. And the big picture for me may not be for a week or two to come. So if you still need some more time to get yourself ready for the end of the season long haul, then that's when I need you. So don't try to answer the bell if you're not physically prepared to go.
This podcast is brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller time, Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. You ready for a little Stacey Dales conversation, Tom?
I am.
All right, let's dig in.
Enjoy your work.
We talked to her earlier this week. Great perspective on this matchup. Here's Stacey Dales from NFL Network. Thanks for joining us, and you're the logical choice for this game. We could pick any Packer legend, a Bears legend, but Tom said, hey, let's get Stacey. Stacey covers both teams, so you've got interesting perspective here on this matchup. Round 2 within 13 days. What new information and strategy are we going to uncover here in the next couple of days?
Well, it's great to be with you both. Thanks for asking me. I feel quite flattered and honored. Damn. Everything has changed. I can't believe that 2 weeks ago we're it's Bears Packers week, and now here we are again. It feels like it was yesterday, but everything has changed. I mean, this Micah Parsons injury has absolutely changed the game for the Green Bay Packers. And not to mention Christian Watson, who's now got this shoulder injury. So, the roster looks entirely different as we see a Bears team, fellas, get healthy. I mean, Jalen Johnson just had his best game against the Cleveland Browns. I know it was the Browns. I know Shedeur Sanders had a 30 passer rating, which is horrific. But the Bears had 5 sacks. They got pressure up front, and the offense played really well-rounded football. So I think they're getting relatively healthy, Chicago is. Tremaine Edmonds looks to be back on track. I saw him at the facility pregame in the morning coming into the locker room, and he gave me that look. Like, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling real good. And now, so we're probably going to see him back pretty soon here.
Stace, the emotions of the Bears-Packers game. You were there, we were all there, and you think about them so close together. Can each team match the emotions that they had the first go-around, or do you think there's a different emotional attachment from one team or the other because of what's happened in the last week?
It's such a great question, Tom, because this Micah Parsons injury, I don't know if you saw Matt LaFleur's press conference, but that man was in tears. And it's not just that we lost one of the best pass rushers in the National Football League. It's that the guy tore his ACL. I've had an ACL, and it's just such a debilitating injury. It takes a whole year to claw back from that. Now, Michael will probably do it in half the time because he's like Superman. But you talk about an emotional blow on top of a Denver loss, right? I mean, Bo Nix threw it all over the place, for heaven's sakes. And they look to be maybe the best team in the AFC. So you're not only dealing with the loss, your most productive downfield passing threat in terms of the receiving game got injured. And, whether you want to call him Superman, Myles Garrett Superman, Max Crosby, you just lost one of the top 5 edge rushers in the NFL. So I just think, Tom, to answer the question short, long-winded answer to answer it short, they're emotionally devastated in Green Bay, and now it's a short week. And when I had Jalen Johnson on the field last night, you guys, right after that game, he's like, I'm already on the Packers.
Yeah.
So I think the Bears are feeling pretty juiced up about this one this week, and they're going to have to get those emotions in check coming in here if you're the Packers.
DeMarco Jackson, when he got the game ball, said, he mentioned Green Bay. These guys have already moved on. They had moved on last night or on Sunday night. So, Tom, you've lived that after a game that you were supposed to win against Cleveland, and you knew you had another big boy on the block ready waiting for you for the next week, and especially how that game ended at Lambeau, right, Tom? Did they leave a message in the minds of the Packers the way they came at them in that second half and within a whisker away of possibly beating them on their home turf?
Well, I know they did to me because I walked out of the building confident, and I haven't walked out of that building confident in the last 20 years. And so you think about the way that game ended and how on that 4th and 1 interception, okay, Caleb, made reference to it yesterday. But, Stace, when you think about the way the game ended, how did it end for you? Were you ended going, wow, the Bears really showed me something in the second half, or were you still confused on where the power rankings were in this division?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you convert that 4th and short and you get that touchdown is in your favor, was it Cole Kmet, right? And Keyshawn Nixon made a great play on the ball. I was standing at the Packers sideline. So I was out there for like the last 3
dare
minutes. I know. You guys know how it works.
Duty calls.
Right.
I get a post-game interview. So whatever team is winning, I go to that side. So sorry. But they won. I mean, they won the game. That play happens, and I actually videoed it. I didn't know if I should post it this week, but it probably wouldn't make Bears fans very happy. But it was insane. But Ben Johnson, if you guys recall, he wanted the football. He did not want to give it back to Jordan Love, who in back-to-back games threw for 3 passing touchdowns. He was lights out. He was on fire. I mean, you guys know the emotion that goes into this rivalry. It's unlike anything in sports. It's unbelievable, actually, and how juiced up they were. But when you're the Bears, Caleb had a season low 32 total yards of offense in the first half, to your point. And the game plan was run away from Micah Parsons as much as possible, boot Caleb out of there, get him out of the pocket, and run the football, which disables the pass rush. And I think we saw that with Myles Garrett. And I think this Saturday, we're going to see another heavy dose of the run game. Why not? The way they're doing it in Chicago. And the emotions are going to be on fire, though. This thing is going to be lit on Saturday.
All right, Stay. So I have a kind of a long-winded multiple choice question for you, which I always liked in college tests because I knew I could give you an answer. So from the preseason till now, your biggest impression, the record, the creative plays, Ben's play calling, defensive takeaways, or all of the above?
All of the above. I mean, I'm going through. That's a good list. That's a great list. All of the above, because everything that has happened, Ben basically said was going to happen.
Right.
He's so accountable. And then the takeaways, I think, though, are really, this is a machine now. I mean, what Al Harris and this defensive group have done. What was interesting, guys, let me share this with you. I went back to my notes going into this last game against Cleveland. So I spoke with Joel Bitonio, and Tommy, you know, Joel's one of the best to do it, right? This guy should be a Hall of Famer. I mean, that's how good Joel has been. You think about Joe Thomas and all the years he spent there in Cleveland. Joel Bitonio is like at the guard position, really special. And I always learn when I talk to him. I said, "What about this Bears defense? Why are they getting so many takeaways?" Here's all the things he told me about them. They get obviously the game plan, the scout going into it, right? Every Monday. And he's like, I think I read 19% of the Bears drives end in takeaways. That is 1 in 5. Like, that is a shocking number statistically that I got to go back to my research department and check on, because they got 30 of them this year. But if that's true, 19%, 20% so roughly, of the Bears, of the offensive drives for the opponent are ending in takeaways. Okay, so that's one thing. The way they disguise coverages, the way they drop their D linemen, the way they're blitzing, the way that they use an odd front with 3 men down at different points, so you don't know which side they're coming from, which side they're dropping, and which side they're going. Like, all those different things Dennis has done, right, Tom? Right, Jeff? Like, and so when you look at the Bears, do they give up some yards? Yes. Have they given up some, passing yards and passing touchdowns? Yes. But the way that they are disguising and distorting this thing for what the offense is seeing, you got to give a lot of credit to Dennis Allen and his defensive staff and the players buying into what he wants to do, because they've had their share of injuries this season, their share of attrition, and they've gotten through it, and they're leading the league in these numbers. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they haven't had their full defense yet, one snap this year, at least the one they envision on paper, and they won't be. It won't be because of certain situations. Maybe for the playoffs once they get there. Score big at your local Chevy dealer. The Chevy Silverado will take you through the season in style. Chevy Drive Chicago, official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. So you did interview, if I'm not mistaken, Micah Parsons after that game, and he was quite perplexed about, I think he called him, I don't know what he called Caleb, now that I think about Pitbull. Yeah, he called him a pit bull. I don't know if that was your interview or someone else's, but he seemed absolutely frustrated about his mobility, which we've seen witness to all over the league this year. How impactful is that heading into this matchup at Soldier Field and against a team, though, that does play a lot of zone defense with their eyes on the quarterback?
Not to answer a question with a question, Jeff, but like, do you guys feel like Caleb he's starting to get that little, the cojones are coming. Like, do you guys feel it?
Yeah,
like,
I do.
I said to somebody yesterday before the game, this passing offense is about to pop. And I say that because Cleveland's defense is really good. They're really good. I don't care what you say about their team. They had the best passing defense in football, one of the best total defenses in football. And you talk about confusing and what they do, as you can hear my dog in the background. Like, so I was really impressed with Caleb's performance, and he is a headache. Everybody I talk to on the opposing side, he is an absolute menace to defend, because what he's doing is he did throw the ball away at times. I mean, you talked about it in broadcast, I know. Like, he's making better decisions. He doesn't turn the ball over. And the Bears run a ton of offensive plays. It's another thing that, Batonio told me. He's like, if we can get the ball back, like, the Bears are running, some people say time of possession doesn't matter. Well, when you have the football and you don't allow somebody like Jordan Love to have the football, like, you are obviously helping your defense in an immense way, but you're possessing and dictating the course of a game. And that's where I see this thing evolving with Chicago. Like, they have the ball all the time, it feels like. And certainly that makes a difference when you're trying to defend them. So I think going into this game at home, like, Chicago has to be very confident going into this thing, especially with the injuries that the Packers have just sustained.
One thing about Caleb is when I look at the play clock as it winding down, when it gets below 7 seconds, there is no panic in Caleb. He understands the information of what he just said in the huddle. If there needs to be a change, he can subtly make the change and still, chip away at the play clock. So to me, that's one of the things that is a significant sign that Caleb is starting to understand the terminology of the offense and how it factors to everybody's job. And, when you look at the Bears, Jeff and I were talking in the Cleveland game, there's 10 different guys that hit Myles Garrett. There's 12 different guys that had a hand in a defensive play of, some significance. When, as a reporter, and you're looking for someone to interview after the game, does that make it more difficult, or do you like the fact that there's a variety of people that you can go up there, as popular as Caleb or whomever else on this football team?
What a good question, because, the quarterback's going to the main national broadcast, right? Like, they're going to the Fox, in this case, the Fox broadcast. You look at DJ Moore coming out of a game like this, Tom, and he has those 2 touchdowns, and man, they were sensational, especially that one. And then Swifty, the way he's running the ball and has a couple touchdowns. But when I saw Jalen, and so what I do is I send a note to PR and I kind of put my list, and Jalen was at the top of my list. I can't lie. I can't, because I love Jalen. That pick was like, that's quintessential Jalen Johnson. That was awesome. That was smooth like butter. It was poetic, and in the way it was like a perfect storm of an interception against.
I didn't know it was an interception.
Took 4 seconds for the referees to figure out that was an interception.
What was your reaction?
I thought it was a touchdown, but I didn't see the hands thrown up. I said, "Is this I don't know. I haven't listened back to it, but that was. I saw them going into the end zone to start celebrating. That means that you got the ball. So
yeah. But guys, it's like the Bears have a bunch of guys making plays, and it's fun. It's fun to go into a post game with them. They got 10 wins for the first time since 2013. Like,
when you talk about a game as big as this Green Bay game, are you glad that the temperatures are going to be more comfortable for everybody because they were so concerning this past week? It seems like that's all we talked about for 4 or 5 days, but it seems like Saturday the temperatures are going to be more football style.
Yeah, I think they're going to be in the 40s, if I'm not mistaken, which is going to be normal. Right. What we just had was abnormal. It was actually unsafe, the conditions. I mean, now I say that, and I'm just standing down there with my layers on, and I'm not running around. So it's, Tom, you could speak to it better than me, like what it's like to play out there in that. But those were dangerous conditions. And if you haven't played in that type of thing, that's nuts. But yeah, I'm happy that it's going to be, because I will be at this game on Saturday. I'm so happy it's going to be more normal. And I think the players obviously are going to want that too. I just remember everybody's face, because we were waiting for Sunday morning, we were waiting for Kyle Monangai. He was going to be our first interview, and then we were going to get Myles Garrett on the other side. And I was there for like an hour waiting for him. And so I saw the players coming in, and I remember looking at Cole Kmet, and I was like, dude, this one's going to be cold. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, it is really cold. Because you guys don't ever want to admit it, Tom. You don't want to let anybody know there's weakness, right? Am I mistaken?
Right. No, you're 100% right. But it seems different because in your 20s, nothing is cold. In your 60s, everything's too cold.
That's very, or in your 40s too. Like, it's too cold.
Well, I'm referencing myself as the 60s.
I know.
Me.
I'm curious though, like, what if you get over emotional because you've played in this game? Like, how do you temper the emotions? That's one of the questions I want to ask this week to the players, because they're always deflecting it to the media.
I think the head coaches have a lot to do with the emotions.
Yeah.
For us, our emotions were fueled by Ditka, and he didn't like Green Bay. He didn't like the Green Bay head coach. So I do think a lot of that is fueled by the head coaches, but now this is the second go around. So I think it's a different emotion that's going to infect this game.
And so much at stake. And that is going to fuel this throughout the course of the short week. But then on game day, you're going to have a fan base that's had a whole day to get ready for it on a Saturday, no less, a Saturday night. Nobody's working on Sunday, or for the most part. But it's going to be quite the environment. And I don't know when we had last, other than the 2010 NFC Championship game with so much riding on it. Because 10 wins is maybe not going to get you in the playoffs. That's number one. Number two, you want the highest seeding possible when and if you will earn a right to go to the playoffs. And there's also the third aspect to it. You guys may be playing again in the playoffs, and you'd like it to be in Chicago, not Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
So that's looking way ahead, more than Ben wants to. But as you said, Tommy, the other day, run with it right now. I mean, everybody's talking about it. You got 3 games to go. I know it's one at a time, but you got to think like a playoff team right now. And maybe they have here in the last 2 weeks. I'm certain that they have. Every game's a playoff game right now. Every snap is a playoff snap.
I would agree 100%. Eventually you have to start building a confidence inside that locker room that carries out to the field. You can't shy away from good performances and act like they haven't happened. I think you have to embrace them and build on them.
Yeah, I absolutely believe in the mindset. By the way, are you telling me that you think there's going to be some shenanigans going on at Soldier Field on Saturday? Do you think there's going to be a heavy alcohol consumption taking place and people partaking in?
People are going to have fun. They're going to have fun.
They're going to be nuts. They're going to be absolutely nuts. And there's going to be a huge contingent coming from Green Bay flocking here as well. And but when you talk about the playoff race, it's crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
The Rams are 11-3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Bears are 10-4, Then you've got the Eagles, and this is by seeding right now. So the Rams are currently the number 1 seed. The Bears jumped to 2 because the Packers lost. And now the Packers are the 7th seed. Detroit's the 8th spot at 8 and 6. And then you've got San Francisco's 110, Seattle's 111. So the Bears have the Niners left. They obviously have the Packers and the Lions. And so do they control their destiny to a degree? Yes. However, you got to see what these other teams do. And you certainly don't want to lose one of them because, I mean, Ben has been saying it all along. You got to win 11. But I mean,
if Pittsburgh beats Detroit and the Bears beat the Packers, the Bears clinch a playoff spot.
This is huge. It's huge.
It is huge. Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. This Bears season, Steinhoffels is partnering with Special Spaces Illinois to create dream bedrooms for children battling cancer. For every false start caused by the Bears defense during a home game, Steinhoffels donates $1,000 to Special Spaces Illinois. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. All right, before we let you go, let's get each of your thoughts on, what was important in Week 13 or Week 14, I guess it was. What's important in Week 16 to win the game if you're the Bears? We'll start with Tommy.
Don't expose yourself to the big plays because I think you only need a couple of big plays per game that can change the course of the game. And when you think, and I know Watson could possibly miss the game, but he could also possibly play the game. Jordan Love has a lot of confidence. So if you can just not be exposed to that big scoring opportunity and make Green Bay earn every snap that they're on the field, it's going to increase your chances.
Yeah, and for me, it's obviously the first half in that Week 14 loss for Chicago, it was abysmal offensively. A fast start, a rhythmic start is going to be critical for Caleb. When he gets off to a good start, I feel like his confidence continues to grow. And I think even though they were stuck at 14 for a while against Cleveland trying to figure out that defense, I think getting in rhythm early with their run game is vital. This run game to me for Chicago is one of the best in the NFL, obviously. But for this line to be able to displace this Packers front without Micah Parsons, think about it. When you build a game plan against a team that has Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett, everything changes. I think they can have a little bit more freedom offensively by the sheer absence of Micah Parsons. And so I think running the football in the terms of their identity, which just naturally opens up the pass game, is going to be huge. And takeaways.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm going to live on that run game because it is so, it's multidimensional, both outside and inside. You got two guys that really, they turned it on in that second half at Lambeau Field, and if they can continue to leave that mark, and that will then result also, first downs lead to touchdowns, as my partner has told me many times, and the time of possession thing, because I think entering the game, I don't have my board in front of me, I think the Bears were 4th in time of possession this year. So keep it away from Jordan Love, weaponry or no weaponry. They move quickly. For some reason, they can get in your face real quick with the movement of the football, even if they don't finish drives. They're threatening. So that's where I'd begin. Don't know what the injury report will reveal this week, but it should be a heck of an affair, that's for sure. Stacey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, you guys. I'll see you on Saturday or somewhere at House Hall this week.
Thanks, Stace.
It's a woman who does her homework, Tom. Always prepared. Love her reference to notes. I see her at the Combine always taking binders full of notes that she can reference over the course of the season. All right, so a lot of this discussion is about the loss of Micah Parsons. Now, I just looked this up. So without Micah Parsons on the field, and this stands to reason, right? He's a premier player that draws a lot of eyes, multiple bodies, nearly every snap. You must know where he lines up, and he lines up all over the place. So quarterback ratings with him off the field, they go up. Sack percentage goes down. Time to throw goes up. What else? The overall pressure percentage goes down. How much of a difference? That's interpretive and depending on what kind of sample size we're talking about. But he didn't play he didn't play like the guy we just faced, Myles Garrett. That guy's playing 75-80% of the snaps. They did give him rests, but when he's not on the field, the Packers defense slightly looks a bit different. How can the Bears take advantage of that?
kind of understand the length of your protection, the luxury of maybe having extra 3/4 of a second per pass protection because that he's not on the field. However, you can't get lulled to sleep. They have creative offense and defensive coordinators, and they'll still attack the same. See if you can identify a vulnerability in the defensive backfield if you don't have immediate pressure. And if you can either create that short play that turns into a long gain or that extended protection that can result in a shock play. There's a lot of different factors that Micah Parsons affects, and that's the amount of coverage time in the defensive backfield, and that's the overall pass rush ability when you have multiple guys that have to account for him on every play. Maybe that gets you an extra body out of the backfield. Maybe that gets you an extra tight end in the route. And maybe that gives you more opportunity to be directive about your protection because you don't have to think or see where he's going to be. You can have a designed point of protection.
That in concert with Devontae Wyatt not able to return this season, that's quite the 1-2 punch because those two guys, you have an inside guy, you have an outside guy that can work off twists and stunts together and be impactful is a severe dent into their defense. However, like you said, you made some great points. They have speed. They have speed in the back end. They have speed at linebacker. That speed can make up for a lot of things because you got to be able to handle speed. Best way to beat speed, we always say, is physicality, right, Tommy? You can just run the ball, get physical. That's what the Bears did in the second half last game.
I'm glad. I was going to criticize you for not bringing up the running game because we can talk about Micah Parsons and his value in pass rushing, and he's got great chase speed. However, when you look at the first half running game to the second half running game in that first go-around, if the Chicago Bears offense and offensive line and running backs and everybody else that has blocking responsibility, if they can turn it in from the very opening kickoff to 5 yards of carry, you're going to talk about a significant attackable difference on second and third downs.
You don't have a 40 time on Caleb. It's all guess, scientific guess based on GPS. They can figure out your 40 time, right? And it was just a curiosity thing for me. Do you know he's had 4 runs this season that hit 20 miles an hour running, okay? He's not the tallest guy. He doesn't have that long stride. He's explosive, and he bursts. And it occurred to me because watching highlights, there was a collage of highlights, him running the football. God, he really looks fast. So the entire rest of the league's quarterbacks have had 4 total among every other quarterback that's played this season. He's got 4 by himself. The rest of the league has 4. So they're projecting that his 40 time is in the 4.5s, low 4.5s. Are we underestimating just how fast this guy is and that he has gears to get out of trouble, and if he's looking for the end zone, he can hit another gear?
Jeff, you've been around and covering the combine now for 30 years. How many fear factors come into effect in 40-yard dashes in the combine?
0.
You know how many fear factors come into account when you're being in a regular season football game in full pads under some fatigue circumstances? Almost every one of them. So if you go out and you want to run a 40 and you got a German Shepherd behind them, I bet you're going to run a fast 40. If you go out there and run a 40 and all it is about making sure that guy tells you to get off on the count and then you run your 40, that's your 40. So, I mean, there's a lot of different accountabilities that you can put into a player when they need to run a fast 40. And I think Caleb is a great athlete, and he's as good as he needs to be depending upon who he's being chased by or what the significance of that play means.
Yeah, Next Gen Stats and also Sumer Sports doing that. And, some are saying he's the fastest quarterback in the league right now.
Well,
Lamar. I mean, I know, but
Lamar's got an ankle injury. Kyler Murray's not playing. All those different circumstances. And I think it's more of what you do with your vision while you're running with the football. And I think that's where Caleb is the perfect matchup of vision and speed and how he's using it to be a factor.
Tom, are there any creatures on the planet that have eyes right where we do in the back of their head and sideways as well. I know there's peripheral vision because Caleb's got all of that. I was talking to JT Barrett. I was talking to JT Barrett, and I brought up this speed thing as, I think what's more impressive is him spinning away from trouble and his ability to have the instincts to get away from pressure in a very unique way. And that's a totally fair assessment of what Caleb Williams does because he's got eyes everywhere.
Well,
unbelievable.
Can I tell you what I call that? I call it lizard eyes.
Okay.
Because lizards can look in each direction. And I know he can't, and it's just a term because I know that lizards can look in both directions. And that's kind of what you need to have when you're trying to feel where the pressure's coming from. And then it makes us seem like escape is he can't, and then all of a sudden here he is feeling it and escaping from it.
Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. Bears also lead the league in games missed due to injury. This was interesting, and that's about starters. Top of the charts. So we mentioned Jalen, Kyler, TJ, Tremaine, Tyreek, Turner, and Jarrett, just to name a few on defense. Offense has been overall pretty healthy, except, Adunze here of late, Luther Burden, Cole missed a game, but everybody's...
Braxton Jones was a starter at the beginning of the year.
Okay, yep, that's true too. So they found a way, and the 4 teams that have had the most are all contending for a playoff spot. What's that say about just being able to hey, not here, move forward, next guy up, let's go. It's cliche, but that's impressive that the top 4 teams are all in playoff contention.
I think it goes a lot. Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, the assistant coaches, every one of them have a hand in it. Because you have, I was thinking about this, and it was almost a question I want you to ask Ben. When do you start recognizing a player is capable? And so what I mean there is by Kyle Monangai. So DeAndre Swift, I think he missed a game as well.
Yeah.
And so when you bring a 7th-round running back in from Rutgers, when do you start realizing this guy's got the traits to succeed? And I think that would be an interesting question just because, you can go out there and you can watch an offensive lineman all through OTAs, and you really don't get an indication if they can play or not until they're in full pads, and you see how they act or react, how they're if they can be physically dominant, and how they are after a week or 2 of practices when they're exhausted. So I think that's something interesting with all these coaches. You got these guys prepared, but until they have to get a chance to play, you really don't know how they're going to react.
There's one running back duo in the NFL that have at least 650 yards rushing this season in the league. Can you name it?
No, I can't. I don't know. To me, the obvious thing makes me think of Detroit, but I know that's not the case.
Swift and Mighty, buddy.
All right.
Swift and Mighty, number 1. Only duo.
That is, yeah.
Love that.
But we kind of thought, from our experiences with Ben in the past, we always thought it was a tandem backfield, and that's what I'm saying. So you have a different array of different athletes in the offensive backfield. Roshan has been injured. Britton Brown really hasn't had very many carries. You talked about DeAndre Swift when he got hired, and then you got to start. Wow, this Monangai kid, he's really impressing me. Wow, he can handle a mental workload. Wow, he's more physical than I thought. All these different things that you have to prove and show to the coaches. Monangai has done an unbelievable job at that.
Tom, what do you suspect would be the best way to run the ball against Green Bay? For a 60-minute game, because they are still very, very highly ranked in multiple statistical categories that stop on the run in various stages of the game, first, second down, third down, whatever the case may be. I don't have it all in front of me, but that's all the season. That's with Wyatt. That's with Parsons. Now they're without those guys, even though they're respected as a run defense. You're going to still try and establish that run. That is part of the identity of this Bears team. and at home with the crowd, hopefully observing the silence because the players have had to quiet the crowd down more than a few times. How do you look at this running game against this Green Bay team right now?
To me, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So if I can have a physical interior running game that includes a lot of combination blocks that get movement at the line of scrimmage and go up to that second level. And again, I'm not sitting here saying, give me 70-yard touchdowns. Give me first downs. Give me that 4+ yards per carry. And if a lot of it has to do with the steady diet of interior runs, and now you start getting the defense to condense itself. And then it's going to open up for those outside zone type of plays. But when you look at this team and it's at its most successful, 281 yards rushing against the Philadelphia Eagles, it was interior explosive runs. And I would like to see a repeat performance of that.
A lot of love for that offensive line right now. They're playing at a high level.
Deservingly so.
A lot of conversation about just everybody across the board. It's going to be fun to watch. I got a quote for you after the game from Jalen Johnson that I found rather. Not I didn't come up with it, but I found it. We've got a lot to show and a lot to prove, and we have to go get our get-back game. Get that get-back game against the Green Bay Packer team. I believe the mindset was set the moment the game ended on Sunday. They've been all eyes on this. This is a part of their DNA, is to be resilient, to be physical, aggressive, nasty. What kind of attitude are they walking into at Soldier Field for Saturday night, 7:20 kickoff against the Green Bay Packers?
It's still going to be an emotional game. And that's the one thing that you can never hide in this rivalry is the Bears-Packers. You can sit there and go, oh, they might have some injury, so we have an advantage. No, you don't. You got to earn the advantage. And I think that's the neat thing about the Chicago Bears is they've never gone to a stadium home or away and think they can just walk in there and win the game. Every single time they win a game, it's because they earned the win. And whether it's some of that stretch where they were winning in the last minute or two of the game, and, I think that's the same way that you have to approach this Green Bay game. It is, and that's the one thing when we ask Stacey Dales, because she goes to both sidelines and she can feel the emotion of both sidelines. If you and I were on the field, we'd be living on the Bears sideline. And I think that's a unique perspective when you get to see the emotions of the Packers in Green Bay and you get to see the emotion of the Bears in Green Bay. They kind of tell you a different tale of the story.
Score big at your local Chevy dealer. Wrong one. How do you tell a cashier you're a Bears fan without telling them you're a Bears fan? With the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gets you exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise. Find out more at pnc.com/BearsCard. All right, Josh Jacobs is my last topic, Tommy. Wrap up this show. Whether or not he plays, I think he will. He says he wants to play if they allow him to play. He is a big part of that offense, and the Bears are going to have to stop him, both run and pass. We touched on it in the last podcast about him wanting to get the football in the passing game, and he's very, very good and suited to do that, wheel routes and even deeper routes than that. And then just in key situations like that third down at Lambeau Field. Got to stop Josh Jacobs, one of the leaders in scoring touchdowns this year with 13 of the NFL, just behind Jonathan Taylor. Outstanding player. Is he one of your primary figures to stop?
Yeah, he is. But I just, they learned something about his ability to be a receiver on certain types of routes in that Denver game. And so if he can't be physical running the ball, if he has some type of setback, will he be a bigger weapon catching the ball? That would be one of my concerns about Josh Jacobs. And sometimes, man, you think of the Michael Jordan flu game. You think of Walter Payton when he had the 275 yards rushing in his career against the Vikings. He had the flu so bad before the game, they didn't know if he was going to play. And Steve McMichael, you say, Tommy, you better watch out for those wounded dogs because sometimes they're the meanest. And it is true. And, he always used to bring that up in the locker room when they were, talking about someone injured or someone not going to show up. And he never took that bait.
Like when you took a shot on your toe. Didn't you have turf toe or something? The worst pain you've ever...
Tore my plantar fascia.
And you still played.
And I did it for 6 games.
Oh.
It was awful.
So you were a wounded animal.
Players talk. I had a steel plate in the bottom of my shoe. I had one shoe that was a size bigger than my other one because the swelling, it was awful.
Well, I don't even know how you go out there with any confidence. Technique, everything goes out the window when you're in agony, right? Just mind over matter.
Is you got to get in the frame of mind to get the most painful shot that in the top and the bottom of your foot. And it kind of, listen, I know guys have gone through some really hard stuff and, I wanted to play.
All right. Last nugget I have for you. The Bears right now have the 5th ranked offense in the NFL, number 1 since the bye week. If they manage to be a top 5 offense, let me correct that. They're a top 5 offense, not the 5th ranked. They're a top 5 offense in the NFL. The last time the Bears have been a top 5 offense, it's the longest drought in NFL history, 47 seasons. 1977, Walter won the MVP. That was a top 5. Even as great as your offenses were, being a top 5 offense has been something, and again, it's just statistics, it's just yards. I'd rather be a top 5 scoring offense every year than a top 5 yardage offense, but isn't that something?
It's amazing. I wouldn't have guessed that, and I wouldn't have picked out that year for them to be a top 5 offense.
Things you learn. Statistics tell funny stories, Tom. Saturday night's game against the Green Bay Packers is brought to you by the Salvation Army. Stop by a red kettle at Soldier Field to donate to this year's kettle campaign. That's going to wrap us up. Thank you, Stacey Dales from NFL Network. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Please subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can do so also on the Chicago Bears official app. That'll do it for us. We'll talk to you on the radio Saturday night. Be there and bear down.